If you had told me a year ago that my life would unravel because of a secret war between my mother and my boyfriend, I would have laughed it off as melodrama. I always thought of myself as the kind of person who could keep the peace, who could balance the different worlds in my life without letting them collide. But now, as I sit here replaying the last few months, I realize how naive I was. The truth is, sometimes the people you love most are the ones who can hurt you in ways you never saw coming. Let me take you back to the beginning, before the lines were drawn and before I realized just how much was at stake. My name is Emily, and for most of my life, I thought I understood what loyalty meant. I grew up in a family where love was loud, where my mom was the center of every gathering, the one who made sure everyone was fed, happy, and safe. She was the kind of mother who would show up to every school event, who'd stay up late helping with projects, who'd fight for me even when I didn't know I needed it. I admired her strength, her determination, and the way she always seemed to know what was best. Then I met Alex. He was nothing like anyone I'd ever dated before. We met at a friend's birthday dinner, squeezed between mismatched chairs and half-eaten slices of cake. He was the kind of person who made everyone feel like they belonged, who could turn a dull conversation into something worth remembering. I was drawn to his warmth, his quick wit, the way he listened like every word mattered. We started dating soon after, and for a while, everything felt easy. We'd spend lazy Sundays in bed, binge-watching shows and making plans for the future. I'd never felt so sure about anyone before. Introducing Alex to my family was supposed to be a milestone, a step forward. My mom had always been a central figure in my life, opinionated, loving, sometimes overbearing, but always there. I wanted her to like Alex, maybe even love him the way I did. I thought if she saw us together, she'd understand. The first dinner was awkward, but I chalked it up to nerves. My mom asked Alex about his job, his family, his plans. The questions were pointed, but not cruel. Alex answered with his usual grace, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he glanced at me for reassurance. Afterward, my mom pulled me aside and said, "He seems nice, but are you sure he's the one?" I brushed it off, telling myself she just needed time. But time didn't help. If anything, things got worse. My mom started making little comments about his clothes, his laugh, the way she held his fork. They were small things, easy to ignore if you weren't looking for them, but I saw the way Alex's smile would falter, the way he'd go quiet. I tried to talk to my mom about it, but she'd just wave me off. "I'm just looking out for you," she'd say. "You know I want what's best." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she was just being protective, that she'd come around eventually. But deep down, I knew something was off. Alex started dreading family gatherings. He'd get quiet on the drive over, his hands twisting in his lap. I tried to reassure him, to tell him that my mom would come around, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Then, one night, everything changed. Alex showed up at my apartment, his face pale, his eyes red and swollen. He didn't say anything at first, just handed me his phone and sat down on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor. I scrolled through the messages, my hands shaking as I read each one. The words blurred together, but the meaning was clear. My mom had been sending Alex message after message, each one more hurtful than the last. She called Alex names, accused him of things that made no sense, questioned his intentions, his character, even his love for me. The messages were cruel, calculated to hurt, and I could see from the timestamps that this had been going on for months. Alex had kept it from me, hoping it would stop, not wanting to make things worse between me and my mom. I felt a wave of anger and shame wash over me. How could I have missed this? How could my own mother do something like this? I looked at Alex, sitting there so small and vulnerable, and I felt like I'd failed him. I should have protected him. I should have seen the signs. That night, after Alex left, I sat alone in the dark, replaying every conversation, every awkward dinner, every time my mom had made a snide remark or given Alex that look. It all made sense now. The little things I'd brushed off weren't little at all. They were warnings, and I'd ignored them. The next morning, I called my mom. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew I couldn't let this go. She answered on the second ring, her voice as cheerful as ever. "Hey, sweetheart, how are you?" I didn't waste time. "Mom, we need to talk about Alex." There was a pause, just long enough for me to hear the shift in her tone. "What about him?" "I know about the messages," I said, my voice shaking. "I saw what you sent him." Silence. Then, "I was just trying to protect you. He's not right for you, and you're too blind to see it." I felt my anger flare. "That's not your decision to make. You had no right to treat him like that." She sighed, the kind of sigh that says she's disappointed in me. "You'll understand someday. I'm your mother. I know what's best." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. My hands were shaking. I felt like I'd just lost something, but I wasn't sure what. My mom had always been my rock, the person I turned to when things got hard. But now, I didn't know if I could trust her. The days that followed were a blur. Alex and I tried to talk things through, but there was a distance between us that hadn't been there before. He was hurt, and I didn't blame him. I was hurt too. I felt like I was being torn in two, forced to choose between the man I loved and the woman who raised me. I started to notice things I hadn't before. The way Alex flinched when his phone buzzed, the way he hesitated before answering my calls, as if he was bracing himself for bad news. I hated that my mom had done this to him, to us. I hated that I hadn't seen it coming. One night, as we sat on the couch, Alex turned to me, his eyes shining with tears. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered. "I love you, but I can't keep fighting for a place in your life." I reached for his hand, desperate to hold on. "Please, don't give up on us. I'll fix this, I promise." But even as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. I went to work, answered emails, sat through meetings, but my mind was always somewhere else. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be Alex telling me he couldn't do this anymore, or my mom demanding to know why I was being so distant. I was stuck in a loop, replaying every moment, every conversation, searching for the point where things had gone wrong. I kept asking myself if I could have stopped this, if I could have protected Alex from the worst parts of my family, if I could have been a better daughter and a better girlfriend at the same time. Alex tried to act like everything was normal, but I could see the cracks. He'd smile and laugh at my jokes, but his eyes were tired, his laughter a little too forced. He started spending more time at his own place, making excuses about work or needing to catch up on sleep. I didn't blame him. My apartment, once our safe haven, now felt like a minefield. Every time we sat together, I could feel the weight of what my mom had done pressing down on us. I tried to talk to my mom again, hoping that maybe if I explained how much she was hurting us, she'd understand. I called her one evening, my voice trembling as I tried to keep my anger in check. "Mom, you have to stop. You're pushing Alex away. You're pushing me away." She didn't apologize. She didn't even sound sorry. "I'm not going to pretend to like someone who's wrong for you. You'll thank me one day." I wanted to scream. I wanted to make her see how much pain she was causing, but I knew it wouldn't matter. My mom had always been stubborn, but this was something else. It was like she'd made up her mind, and nothing I said could change it. Alex and I started arguing more. Little things would set us off. A missed text, a forgotten dinner plan, a careless word. But underneath it all was the same fear, that we were losing each other, that my mom had driven a wedge between us that we couldn't remove. I tried to reassure him, to tell him that I loved him, that I was on his side, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. He didn't say it, but I knew he was wondering if I'd ever really stand up for him. One night, after another argument, I found myself walking the city streets, trying to clear my head. The air was cold, the sky heavy with clouds. I wandered aimlessly, my thoughts spinning. I thought about my childhood, about all the times my mom had been there for me, patching up scraped knees, cheering at school plays, staying up late to help me with homework. I thought about how much I owed her, how much I wanted her approval. But I also thought about Alex, about the way he made me feel, about the life we'd started building together. I realized that I couldn't keep living in the past, couldn't keep letting my mom's expectations dictate my future. When I got home, Alex was waiting for me. He looked up as I walked in, his face drawn and tired. "Where were you?" he asked softly. "I just needed to think," I said, sinking onto the couch beside him. "I don't know what to do, Alex. I feel like I'm losing you, and I don't know how to stop it." He reached for my hand, his fingers cold. "I don't want to lose you either, but I can't keep fighting your battles for you. I need to know that you're willing to fight for us." His words hit me like a punch. I realized that I'd been so focused on keeping the peace that I'd let him fight alone. I'd let my mom's words unchallenged, hoping things would get better on their own. But they hadn't. If anything, they'd gotten worse. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I should have stood up for you. I should have protected you." He squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with tears. "I just want to feel like I matter to you, like I'm not always going to come second." I promised him that things would change, that I'd talk to my mom, that I'd set boundaries. But even as I said the words, I wondered if I was strong enough to follow through. I'd never had to choose between my family and someone I loved before. I didn't know if I could. The next day, I called my mom and told her that I needed space. I told her that I loved her, but that I couldn't let her treat Alex the way she had. She didn't take it well. She accused me of abandoning her, of letting Alex come between us. She cried, she yelled, she hung up on me. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like I'd just lost a part of myself. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time, I chose Alex. I'd chosen us. It wasn't easy, and it didn't fix everything overnight, but it was a start. Alex and I spent the weekend together, trying to rebuild what my mom had broken. We talked for hours about everything and nothing, about our fears and our hopes for the future. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. For the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe we had a chance. The following week, I found myself caught in a strange limbo. I'd drawn a line with my mom, but the fallout was messier than I'd expected. She sent me long texts, some pleading, some angry, all of them laced with guilt. She reminded me of everything she'd done for me, every sacrifice she'd made, every moment she'd been there when I needed her. It was hard not to feel the weight of her words, to not let them seep into my bones and make me question if I was being ungrateful, if I was betraying her by choosing Alex. Alex noticed the change in me. He could see the tension in my shoulders, the way I'd stare at my phone, lost in thought. He tried to give me space, but I could tell he was worried.
One night, as we lay in bed, he turned to me and said, "You don't have to carry this alone, you know? I'm here. I want to help." I wanted to let him in, to share the burden, but I didn't know how. I was so used to being the one who fixed things, who kept everyone happy, that I didn't know how to ask for help. I told him I was fine, that I just needed time, but he saw right through me. He always did. A few days later, my older brother called. He'd heard about the fight with Mom, and he wanted to know what was going on. I told him everything. The messages, the arguments, the way Mom had crossed a line. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm sorry. I had no idea it was that bad. Mom's always been intense, but this is something else." It was a relief to have someone on my side, someone who understood. My brother promised to talk to Mom, to try and get her to see reason. I thanked him, but I didn't hold out much hope. My mom had always been stubborn, and I knew it would take more than a conversation to change her mind. Meanwhile, Alex and I tried to find our way back to each other. We went on long walks, cooked dinner together, watched old movies on the couch. We tried to create new memories, to remind ourselves of what we loved about each other. But the shadow of my mom's disapproval hung over us, a constant reminder that our happiness came at a cost. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Alex turned to me and said, "Do you ever wish things were different, that your mom could just accept us?" I thought about it for a moment, then nodded. "Every day. But I can't change her. I can only control what I do." He smiled, a sad, knowing smile. "I know. I just wish it didn't have to be this hard." I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "Me too." The next day, I got a call from my mom. She sounded tired, defeated. "I miss you," she said, quietly. "I don't like how things are between us." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "I miss you too, Mom, but I can't let you treat Alex the way you have. He's important to me. I need you to respect that." There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, could almost picture her sitting at the kitchen table, twisting a napkin in her hands. "I just want what's best for you," she said, finally. "I know," I replied. "But what's best for me is being with someone who makes me happy. Alex makes me happy." She didn't say anything else. We sat in silence for a while, the distance between us stretching wider with every passing second. When we finally hung up, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. I knew things wouldn't be the same, but I also knew I'd done the right thing. That night, I told Alex about the conversation. He listened quietly, his eyes searching mine. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I think so," I replied. "It hurts, but I think it's the only way forward." He wrapped his arms around me, holding me close. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "I know this isn't easy." We fell asleep like that, tangled together, holding on to each other, as if we could keep the world at bay. Over the next few weeks, things slowly started to get better. My mom stopped sending angry texts. She didn't apologize, but she kept her distance. My brother checked in regularly, offering support and encouragement. Alex and I found a new rhythm, one that wasn't defined by my mom's approval or disapproval. We started making plans again, weekend trips, dinners with friends, lazy mornings in bed. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Still, there were moments when the pain would sneak up on me. I'd see a family photo on my phone or hear a song that reminded me of childhood, and I'd feel the loss all over again. I missed my mom, missed the way things used to be, but I also knew that I couldn't go back, couldn't pretend that nothing had happened. One afternoon, as Alex and I walked through the park, he stopped and turned to me. "Do you regret it?" he asked.
He asked softly. "Choosing me?" I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had stood by me, who had weathered the storm, who had never asked me to choose, but had needed me to. I shook my head. "No, I don't regret it. I just wish it hadn't come to this." He smiled, tears shining in his eyes. "Me too." We stood there for a long time, holding hands, watching the world go by. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. The seasons changed, and with them, so did the rhythm of our lives. Alex and I found ourselves settling into a new kind of normal, one shaped by the boundaries I'd finally set and the quiet resilience we'd built together. There were still moments when the old pain resurfaced, a tense phone call from my mom, a family gathering where Alex's presence was met with polite but strained smiles, but those moments no longer defined us. Instead, we focused on the life we were creating, one small act of love at a time. We started new traditions just for us. Sunday mornings became sacred, a time for pancakes and music and slow dancing in the kitchen. We took weekend trips to places neither of us had ever been, exploring new towns and making memories that belonged to us alone. Each adventure, each inside joke, each quiet night spent talking about our dreams felt like a small victory, a reminder that we were more than the sum of our struggles. But even as we built this life together, I couldn't ignore the lingering ache of what had been lost. My relationship with my mom was still fractured, the easy closeness we once shared replaced by a careful distance. We spoke less often, and when we did, our conversations were cautious, as if we were both afraid of saying the wrong thing. I missed her, missed the way she used to make me feel safe, but I also knew that things could never go back to the way they were. Alex sensed this too. He never said it outright, but I could tell he felt responsible for the rift between my mom and me. I tried to reassure him, to remind him that the choices I'd made were my own, that I didn't regret standing by him. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch him staring at the ceiling, lost in thought, and I knew he was carrying a weight I couldn't lift for him. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching the rain streak down the windows, Alex turned to me. "Do you ever wish things were different?" he asked quietly. I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. I wish it hadn't been so hard. I wish my mom could see you the way I do, but I don't wish for a different life. I want this life, with you. He smiled, a small, grateful smile, and leaned his head on my shoulder. I want this life too. We sat like that for a long time, listening to the rain, letting the silence say what words couldn't. In that moment, I realized that happiness isn't about having everything you want. It's about choosing what matters most, even when it's hard, even when it means letting go of something you thought you couldn't live without. As time went on, my mom began to soften, if only a little. She started asking about Alex, not with the sharp edge of suspicion, but with a tentative curiosity. She sent birthday cards, small gestures that felt like olive branches. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a start. I knew it would take time, that trust, once broken, isn't easily rebuilt. But I was willing to wait. I wanted my mom to be part of my life, but not at the expense of my happiness. Alex and I talked about the future more often, about moving in together, about traveling, about maybe one day starting a family of our own. The thought scared me sometimes, not because I doubted our love, but because I knew how fragile happiness could be. But I also knew that we were stronger now, that we'd survived the worst and come out the other side. One night, as we lay in bed, Alex whispered, "Thank you for choosing me." I turned to him, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "Thank you for not giving up on us." He smiled, his eyes shining with tears. I almost did. There were days when I thought it would be easier to walk away. "I know," I said softly, "but I'm glad you stayed." We fell asleep holding each other.
the storm outside fading into a gentle lullaby. In the quiet darkness, I made a promise to myself to keep fighting for us, to keep choosing love, even when it was hard. Looking back, I realized that the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. The battle between loyalty and love, between the past and the future, between who we were and who we want to be. I didn't have all the answers, and I knew there would be more challenges ahead. But for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Alex and I weren't perfect. We still argued, still made mistakes, still had days when the weight of everything threatened to pull us under. But we faced those days together, hand in hand, refusing to let go. We'd learned that love isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up, about choosing each other again and again, no matter what. And as I watched Alex drift off to sleep, his breathing slow and steady, I knew that I'd made the right choice. I'd chosen love, chosen us, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
There's a certain peace that comes with acceptance, a quiet understanding that not every wound will heal the way you want, and not every relationship will return to what it once was. As the months passed, I found myself letting go of the need for everything to be perfect. I stopped waiting for my mom to suddenly become the mother I wished she could be for Alex, and I stopped blaming myself for the choices I'd made. Instead, I focused on the life I was building, the love I was nurturing, and the future that was finally starting to feel like my own. Alex and I grew closer in ways I hadn't expected. The trials we'd faced together had stripped away any illusions, leaving only the raw, honest truth of who we were and what we meant to each other. We learned to communicate better, to listen without judgment, to forgive quickly, and love fiercely. There were still moments of doubt, still nights when old fears crept in, but we faced them together, knowing that we were stronger for having survived the storm. My mom remained a part of my life, but the dynamic had changed. Our conversations were more measured, our visits less frequent, but there was a new respect between us. A recognition that I was no longer a child seeking her approval, but an adult making my own choices. She never fully embraced Alex, but she stopped fighting our relationship. Sometimes that's all you can ask for. One afternoon, as Alex and I walked through the park, he squeezed my hand and said, "I'm proud of you, for standing up for us, for standing up for yourself." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. I'm proud of you too, for believing in us, even when it was hard. We sat on a bench, watching the world go by, and I realized how far we'd come. The pain of the past hadn't disappeared, but it no longer defined us. We'd built something real, something lasting, out of the wreckage. We'd chosen each other, again and again, and that choice had made all the difference. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I thought about the future. I didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but I knew we'd face them together. We'd learned that love isn't always easy, that sometimes it means making hard choices, letting go of old dreams, and forging new ones. But we'd also learned that love is worth fighting for, that it can survive even the fiercest storms. That night, as we lay in bed, Alex turned to me and whispered, "Do you ever regret it, choosing me over your mom?" I looked into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, the hope, and the fear. I shook my head. Never. I'd choose you 1,000 times over. You're my family now. He smiled, tears glistening in his eyes, and I knew he believed me. I knew, too, that I believed it myself. In the quiet darkness, I thought about all the people who find themselves caught between the people they love, forced to make impossible choices. I thought about the pain, the guilt, the fear of losing someone you can't imagine living without. And I thought about the courage it takes to choose yourself, to choose happiness,
even when it means letting go of the past. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that life is messy. Relationships are complicated. There are no easy answers, no perfect solutions. But there is hope, there is healing, and there is love, if you're willing to fight for it. Alex and I aren't perfect. We still have our struggles, our disagreements, our moments of doubt. But we face them together with honesty and compassion and a deep, abiding love. We've learned to celebrate the good days, to weather the bad ones, and to hold on to each other through it all. My mom and I are still finding our way. There are days when the distance feels insurmountable, when I wonder if we'll ever truly understand each other. But there are also days when I see glimpses of the woman who raised me, the woman who taught me to be strong, to stand up for what I believe in. I hold on to those moments, hoping that in time, we'll find a new way to be a family. As for Alex and I, we keep moving forward. We keep building our life, one day at a time, one choice at a time. We know there will be more storms, more challenges, more moments when the past threatens to pull us under. But we also know that we're stronger now, that we can face whatever comes our way, as long as we face it together. And so, as I watch Alex drift off to sleep, his breathing slow and steady, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in a long time. I know the road ahead won't always be easy, but I also know that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I've chosen love, chosen us, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. If you're listening to this and you're caught in your own storm, torn between the people you love, I hope you find the courage to choose what's right for you. I hope you find the strength to fight for your happiness, to build the life you deserve. It won't be easy, and it won't always be fair, but it will be worth it. Because in the end, love isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up, about choosing each other again and again, no matter what. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, or if you've ever faced something similar, I hope you know you're not alone. Please consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, take care of yourself and never be afraid to choose love.